Unfolding the rosebud. It's only a tiny rosebud, a flower of God's design. But I cannot unfold the petals with this clumsy hands of mine. The secret of unfolding flowers is not known to such as I. God opens this flower so sweetly, when in my hands they fade and die. If I cannot unfold a rosebud, this flower of God's design, then how do I think I have wisdom to unfold this life of mine? So, I'll trust Him for His leading each moment of every day. I will look to Him for His guidance each step of the pilgrim way. The path that lies before me, only my Heavenly Father knows. I'll trust Him to unfold the moments just as He unfolds the rose. Only God knows what's best for us. One day, through the primeval wood, a calf walked home as good calves should, but made a trail all beat askew, a crooked trail, as all calves do. Since then, 200 years have fled, and I infer the calf is dead. But still he left behind his trail, and thereby hangs my moral tale. The trail was taken up next day, after the calf, by a lone dog that passed that way. And then a wise bellwether sheep pursued the trail, o'er vale and steep, and drew the flock behind him too, as good bellwethers always do. And from that day o'er hill and glade, through those old woods a path was made. And many men wound in and out, and dodged and turned and beat about, and uttered words of righteous wrath, because 'twas such a crooked path. But still they followed, do not laugh, the first migrations of that calf, and through this winding woodway stalked, because he wobbled when he walked. This forest path became a lane that bent and turned again. This crooked lane became a road where many a poor horse, with his load, toiled beneath the burning sun, and traveled some 3 miles to one. And thus a century and a half they trod the footsteps of that calf. Each day 100,000 root followed a zigzag calf about, and o'er this crooked journey went the traffic of a continent. 100,000 men were led by one calf, near 3,000, 3 centuries dead. They followed still his crooked way, and lost 100 years a day. For thus such reverence is lent to well-established precedent, a moral lesson that much teach, were I ordained and called to preach. For men are prone to go it blind along the calf paths of the mind, and work away from sun to sun to do what other men have done. They follow in the beaten track, and out and in and forth and back, until their devious course pursue, to keep the path that others do. But how the wise old wood gods laugh, who saw the first primeval calf. Ah, many things this tale may teach, but I am not ordained to preach. But how many times do we just follow the paths of the calf that followed and followed and followed? There are leaders and there are followers. Are you a leader or a follower? That calf was a leader. I want to be a leader. I don't want to be the follower of a track, the wrong track in life. For half a century, the world has applauded John Glenn, as a heart-stirring American hero. He lifted the nation's spirits when, as one of the original Mercury 7 astronauts, he was blasted alone into orbit around the Earth. The enduring affection for him is so powerful that even now people find themselves misting up at the sight of his face and the sound of his voice. But for all these years, Glenn has had a hero of his own. You know who that was? Someone who has displayed endless courage of a different kind. Anny Glenn. They have been married for 68 years. He is 90, and she turned 92. And this is, I'm not sure what year this came out, but anyhow, it's been a while back. This weekend has been news coverage of the 50th anniversary of Glenn's flight into orbit. We are being reminded that half a century down the line, he remains America's unforgotten hero. He has never really bought that. Because the heroism he most cherishes is of a sort that is seldom cheered. It belongs to the person who has known longer than he has known anyone else in the world. It belongs to the person he has known, Glenn has known, longer than any other person in the world. John Glenn and Anny Castor first knew each other when literally they shared a playpen. In New Concord, Ohio, his parents and hers were friends. When the families got together, their children played. John, the future Marine fighter pilot, the figured test pilot ace, the future astronaut, was pure gold from the start. He would end up having what it took to rise to the absolute pinnacle of American regard during the space race. Imagine what it meant to be the young John Glenn in the small confines of New Concord. Three sport varsity athlete, most admired boy in town, everything, Mr. Everything. Anny Castor was bright, was caring, was talented, was generous of spirit, but she could only talk with the most excruciating difficulty. It haunted her. Her stuttering was so severe that it was categorized as at 85% disability. 85% of the time, she could not manage to make words come out. When she tried to recite a poem in elementary school, she was laughed at. She was not able to speak on the telephone. She could not have a regular conversation with a friend. And John Glenn loved her. Even as a boy, he was wise enough to understand that people who could not see past her stutter were missing out on knowing a rare and wonderful girl. They married in April 1943 during World War II. As a military wife, she found that life, as she and John moved around the country, could be quite hurtful. She has written, "I can remember some very painful experiences, especially the ridicule. In department stores, she would wander unfamiliar aisles trying to find the right section, embarrassed to attempt to ask the sales clerks for help. In taxis, she would have to write requests to the driver because she couldn't speak the destination out loud. In restaurants, she would point to the items on the menu. A fine musician, Anny, in every community where she and John moved, would play the organ as a way to make new friends. She and John and her two children, she has written, can you imagine living in the modern world and being afraid to use the telephone? Hello used to be very hard for me to say. I worried about my children. They would be injured and need a doctor. Could I somehow find the words of information across the telephone? Get them across the telephone? John, as a Marine aviator, flew 59 combat missions in World War II and 90 during the Korean War. Every time he deployed, he and Annie said goodbye the same way. His last words to her before leaving were, "I'm just going down to the corner store to get a pack of gum." And with just the two of them there, she would always reply, "Don't be long." On that February day in 1962, when the world held its breath and the Atlas rocket was about to propel him into space, those were their words once again. In 1998, when at 77 he went back to space aboard the shuttle Discovery, it was an understandably tense time for them. What if something happened to end their life together? She knew what he would say to her before boarding the shuttle. He did. And this time he gave her a present to hold on to, a pack of gum. She carried in a pocket next to her heart until he was safely home. Many times in her life she attempted various treatments to cure her stutter. None worked. But in 1973, she found a doctor in Virginia who ran an intensive program she and John hoped would help her. She traveled there to enroll and to give it her best effort. The miracle she and John had always waited for at last, as miracles will do, arrived. At age 53, she was able to talk fluently and not in brief, anxiety-ridden, agonizing bursts. John has said that on the first day he heard her speak to him with confidence and clarity, he dropped to his knees to offer a prayer of gratitude. He has written, "I saw Annie's perseverance and strength through the years, and it just made me admire her and love her evermore." He has heard roaring ovations in countries around the globe for his own valor, but his awe is reserved for Anny and what she accomplished. I don't know if I would have had the courage. Her voice is so clear and steady now that she regularly gives public talks. If you are lucky enough to know the Glens, the sight and sound of them bantering and joking with each other and playfully finishing each other's sentences is something that warms your heart and makes you thankful just to be in the same room. Monday will be the anniversary of the Mercury space shot, and once again people will remember and will speak of the heroism of Glenn, the astronaut. But if you ever find yourself at an event where Glens are appearing and you want to see someone so brimming with pride and love that you may feel your own tears start to well up, wait until the moment that Annie stands to say a few words to the audience. And as she begins, take a look at her husband's eyes. Thanks to all who served and are serving. Please pray for our troops, it says here. God bless America, land that we love. I believe that behind every great man is a great woman. And I've known many great men, leaders around the world. And I always am very anxious to meet their wives, because behind every great man is a great woman. And Annie was one of them. God bless you.